All right, so like I said, I'm going to start off with step one and step two. I'm going to do them together because, again, I feel like that'll be easier for me, but please feel free to do it however you think would be easier for you. So, steps one and two is saying to paraphrase paragraph two and then write down the steps that I took to understand and paraphrase paragraph two, right? So, I know that a paraphrase, based off of the definition, has to be A, a rephrasal of the paragraph, B, written in my own words, and C, it should be about the same length, right? So the first thing that I'm going to actually do is number the sentences. And the reason why I'm going to number the sentences is because I think that'll make it easier for me to keep it at the same length, in the sense that it'll be the same amount of sentences rather than being the same size, right? Because maybe some of these words I can cut out so it won't be as long, but it will still contain the sentences and the key parts of each one of those sentences. So I just numbered each one of my sentences here, 1 through 8, and then I went down to step number 1 and number each sentence, right? So now the next thing that I need to do, of course, is read the first sentence, right? Because what I'm doing with the paraphrase is I'm taking each sentence and I'm putting them in my own words. So again, I'm doing this because it's easier for me. You don't need to do it this way. I copied that first sentence and just pasted it here just so that it's right in my face and it's a lot easier for me to work with. Excuse me, guys. For step number 3, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for any unknown words or any key words. So any words that I don't know, that I haven't seen, any words that I have seen, but I'm not sure what it means in this context, or any words that I feel like is going to be important based off of what I've read before or based off of what I already know. So these are now some of the keywords and unknown words that I've identified. And I termed it here step 3 just so that you could see what this looks like. Okay? Again, when you do this, you might not have all of these steps. You might not A, utilize all of these steps, and B, when you are creating your assignment or when you're answering your assignment, you might not be doing it in the same steps or in the same order that I'm doing it. Okay? Again, this is just for me. This makes it easier for me. If you think the way that I do, if it's easier for you, go for it. Okay. So again, these are my keywords. I highlighted the word material because I'm not 100% clear on what they mean by material. That, if not all, I'm wondering, do I actually need that? What does it mean? So again, a lot of these I do know what they are, but I do know what they are, but maybe they don't make sense with the definition that I know of, right? So maybe I'm thinking of their denotation, but in this case, I should be thinking of their connotation. So the next thing that I'm going to do now is define those unknown words, rephrase my keywords, and cross out any unnecessary words. Okay. So like I said, the word material, I know what it is, but I wasn't sure what the connotation in this case was. And being that she's talking about a study that she conducted, I'm assuming that she gathered some kind of evidence, some kind of data, and had some kind of findings. So the material that she's talking about, I'm going to assume that she's talking about evidence from the study. And when I go back to reread this, it makes sense to me, right? So now, you'll also notice that I had originally highlighted, if not all, I had originally bolded, if not all. And the reason why is for 2 reasons. The first one is that this phrase here is written in between 2 commas. And when things are typically written in between 2 commas, what it typically does is it's trying to give you a little bit more specifics or a little bit more information, right? So what specifics are they trying to give me? What information are they trying to give me? Is this specific, or is this information that is necessary for me to understand, or is this something that, if it didn't exist here, it wouldn't make a difference? It's something that I have to consider, right? The second reason why I highlighted is because it starts with the word if, right? And the word if is usually used with a hypothetical, right? It means that you're not sure if something is true or if something is false. You don't know if something is real or if it's not real, right? So because of the fact that it's supposed to be giving me more specifics and more information, and because it seems like it's something that's not 100% sure, I'm just going to cross it out. Because what it's saying here is that many of the personality traits, or if not all, if you're not sure if it's all of them, but we can assure ourselves that it is many, I'm just going to keep many and then remove the if not all. It's too many words in here. So I changed the personality traits to characteristics, right? Characteristics is a word that we're very familiar with. Masculine and feminine, I was already familiar with, but I just decided to make it, change the word so that it's something that I more so typically used. This word lightly, I know typically means something that's not heavy, but again, I'm supposed to think of what the connotation is, not the denotation. And then headdress is the word here that I wasn't sure what it meant, and when I went to look it up, it was basically talking about like headgear or a hat, right? So now that I've defined my unknown words and I've rephrased my keywords and crossed out any of those unnecessary words, I'm going to reread the sentence and now cross out any other unnecessary words and phrases that I feel like don't need, right? Because now I've already rephrased some of these words, so now I want to make sure that it still makes sense. So here we have again, we may say that at a given period. These are phrases that I don't necessarily believe were important or necessary, so I ended up crossing them out. Now, we're going to rewrite the sentence using my own words and understanding. I am totally allowed to use these bolded words because I rephrased those words, right? So here's what it is. The evidence from the study says or implies that many of the characteristics that are considered manly or girly are not connected to sex, just like the clothes and the behaviors people are forced to wear are not connected to sex. Okay, I understand what I wrote, but I don't really like it. So I'm going to revise my new sentence so that it's written in a way that makes perfect sense to me, so that it looks beautiful in my opinion. And I decided to rephrase it so that it says, the evidence from the study implies that many of the characteristics that are considered manly or girly do not determine sex, just like the clothes and the behaviors people are forced to have do not determine sex. Then my last step is going to be to repeat steps 2 to 7 for the other 8 remaining sentences. And what I'm going to do here at the end is just completely erase everything so that we are back to just having this. And I will again go into doing number 2, number 3, all the way until I get up to number 9. You guys, I think, are going to have less than 9, but just so you are aware. So now I've finished 1, check, 2, check. Now I got to go to number 3 and 4, which is summary, and the steps that I took to write a summary. So the first thing, of course, as always, reread the paragraph, because how am I supposed to write a summary if I don't know what I'm talking about and I don't remember? I read it yesterday. Like, come on, for Christ's sake. So I reread the paragraph, and after I read the paragraph, I'm going to write down what I remember reading. I'm not going to remember everything. Again, this is 9 sentences, and some of those sentences are super long and super complex, so I'm not going to remember everything, but I'm going to write down the things that I do remember. And what I remembered was that the study conducted by Margaret Mead found that the characteristics Americans believe are manly and girly do not define our sex at birth. These characteristics are taught to us as we grow up, right? This is the major takeaway that I gathered from the summary. So now once I've done that, I should identify the 5 W's and H, right? And then I should make sure that I've included them. Okay? Well, it talks about the tribes, and I didn't include anything about the tribes, which would count as the who, so maybe I should add that. Okay, so now I'm going to add another sentence here about the tribes and what they had mentioned about it, and I decided to include the evidence points to this being true because boys and girls in the Arapish tribe are passive while the boys and girls in the Mandugamor tribe are all aggressive. So again, I will reread my little short summary. It's supposed to be a lot shorter. This one's only 3 sentences compared to the 9-sentence paragraph, excuse me. And that is because, again, a summary is only identifying what those main points are, right? I'm identifying what are the 5 W's and what are those key takeaways that I should have. So if it's very short, if it's 1, 2, 3 sentences, that's totally fine as long as you're getting those main points and those main ideas. So I made sure that my summary has the main ideas of the paragraph to my liking. And then once I am done with the summary and writing my steps, I need to go back up to number 5 and make sure that I highlight the thesis statement, the argument, the claim, or the central idea. Again, you're not doing all 4 of them, you're picking one of them. Some of you guys might see a thesis statement, some of you guys might find an argument, some of you guys might see a claim, some of you guys might see the central idea, some of you guys are like Miss Rosario, it's literally the same thing. That's great, guys. Whatever term you want to call it, whatever you understand it to be, please make sure that you highlight what that is. Okay, and then last but not least, you guys have which of the 2 do you think is easier and more beneficial to write, a summary or paraphrase, and why? This is based off of your own personal opinion. It would be awesome if you guys used some of the information that you learned through this video and the optional video if you guys saw it to respond to this question. And then last but not least, you will have your exit slip. And again, you might be able to use that optional video to answer these last 2. So that is it for this assignment. If you guys have any questions or concerns, please email me. If you need help with this, send me an email. We can set up a Google Hangouts meeting. We can do a Zoom meeting. If you need extra time, this is due Monday at 8 a.m. Let me know in advance. The quicker you communicate with me, the more open we are with our communication, the easier this will be for both of us and for all of us, actually. So again, if you feel overwhelmed, if you know you can't do this by the due date, whether it's this assignment or any of the other assignments, please make sure that you reach out and you let us know in advance. And lastly, if you guys want to hear more about that spreadsheet that I created to help me stay organized, please reach out, send me an email, let me know. I have your guys' back. I hope that this has been helpful, and I hope that you guys have an amazing Wednesday. I'm sorry, it's not Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. I hope you guys have an amazing Thursday, amazing Friday, and an even better weekend. Bye, guys.